Let me ask you a question. Why is it that so many people never take the risk? How come instead of focusing on the chances of success, many people fear failing and choose to play it safe? We've all backed down from a challenge at some point in our lives that created a crippling effect on our confidence. But if we continue to give into this repeated cycle of backing down, it is certain to become a danger to our mental health. Today, it is important that we discuss the fear of failure, specifically what it is, some things that could be causing it, and ways to potentially overcome this fear. What's the thought, beloved? This is Jabril. To our one community, let me extend to my brothers and sisters. I hope everyone is having an amazing day, and let's continue on into today's topic. In order for us to fail, we have to have attempted to succeed. We all view success and even failure differently for a reason. Since childhood, our self-belief has been heavily influenced by what's around us. It is also how we respond to our environment that directs us to our destiny. For many people, the fear of failure comes from different things. Embarrassment is one of them. People can fear failure because they are afraid of being embarrassed. If a person sets a goal for themselves, small or big, achieving it can result in a fear of them being embarrassed. This is because the opinions and potential criticisms of those around them become too overwhelming. Let me tell you a story. When I was a junior in high school, my music teacher had asked me to do a live music performance. It was to be in front of every grade except the seniors, and I had only 1 week to prepare. I agreed to do it, but I was afraid on the inside. Every day I'd imagine the worst possible outcome and would replay it in my head. I even considered backing out days before the show. This relates to the point because I was passionate about a thing. As people, we tend to become passionate about many things throughout our lives. However, it is sometimes the public opinion that ultimately leaves us questioning our own abilities. Many times, similar to my example, we don't even receive criticism, but instead assume that we will. Remember, I said I would assume the worst possible outcome and even be embarrassed days before the show. See, a lot of the time, when we are afraid of failing, we predict an undesirable outcome. This negative outlook that hasn't even happened yet becomes so real in our heads that we almost believe it will happen. With this attitude of already feeling defeated, it is almost impossible to have the courage in taking the risk on ourselves. Let's move forward. Now, most people's drive for success is also attached to those close to them. They're fixated on making people proud by reaching a certain level of success in their careers or spiritual life. In dealing with this, it can bring certain anxieties like the fear of disappointment. Let's say a person has established a goal for themselves and around them are people whom they admire or deeply respect. And for some reason, these people do not approve of the goal being set by this person. Now, this could be for many reasons, but simply because this person appreciates their opinion so much, they fear being a disappointment. Many things can occur in situations similar to this one when trying not to disappoint. As an example, I'll give another story. One day I was speaking to my father. I explained to him my worries about how I felt I wasn't progressing quick enough. In my head, there's a level of success I set after and I intended on reaching it. However, I feared I wasn't working hard enough and those who I loved would be let down. My father made it clear to me that he understood why I was stressed, but he then explained to me specifically the progress that I had been overlooking. Like myself, most people tend to become so focused on making it to the end goal. And when being in this mindset of only seeing the end result, we tend to notice how far we still have to go opposed to how much further we have gotten. With this pessimistic attitude towards our goals and progress, it is easy to become discouraged. And for some reason, there is always something still missing or needed to be done. Recently, I talked to a friend and a question was asked, which was, is there ever a perfect time? Before this question was asked, he explained to me how he felt that although we're only 17, time seems to be slipping away. Like myself, he was extremely ambitious, so his mindset was mainly focused on only moving forward as quickly as possible. In response to what he was telling me during this conversation, I expressed to him that sometimes I question if I'm prepared to succeed. What I meant by this was that for some reason, like most people, I tend to feel like I haven't done enough, and if an opportunity had presented itself to me, I wouldn't be ready. See, what I want you guys to understand is that a lot of people deal with these compulsions or time anxieties when they fear they aren't working hard enough or fast enough. These compulsions or anxieties can lead one to having obsessive behaviors and even depression. Now, with all that being said, it is not only the thought of being embarrassed, disappointing, or believing that there is more to be done that can cause a fear of failure. People can also fear failure because they are afraid of ending up like those around them. What I mean by this is that many people, as they grow up, may resent their families or those around them for different reasons. Now, this is not to be confused with hatred, because you can resent someone and still love them, all right? You can't hate someone and love them. I don't think so. Now, in most families, the topic of abuse, whether physical or psychological, almost feels forbidden to speak of, especially when we feel it was inflicted upon us by someone inside of the family. So we go through our years with this undealt trauma that stays inside of us, almost like a dark shadow. Now, this relates to the fear of failure because at some point one may vow or promise themselves to never end up like the person who may have hurt them or who they just simply feel are not good enough role models. And like I said before, I really want to make this clear that one can feel this way about someone and still love them as well. And that's completely okay, all right? That's fine. This is only resentment, not hatred, all right? You can still love someone and resent them for particular reasons. Now, although we understand that we do not want to be like these people, we may fear signs of similarity. Because of how close we are to them, there may be certain flaws or habits that may start to rub off on us. This could lead to further resentment towards not only them, but towards ourselves also. Now, earlier I mentioned that I'm going to speak of ways to overcome this fear, and I am. However, I think that it's best that I make a separate video. I've been doing research of, certain solutions and ways to overcome this fear, because this really is a huge thing that many people deal with. And I have so many different things that I wanted to break down pertaining to this fear. This is just the start of it. And I've really been researching different things that could really go into it, because it's important to me to not only educate myself, but just to know that I'm potentially educating other people who are interested in this or maybe feel this way and not know much about it. So it's important to me that I take my time on this and really just dish out as much information, but make it as digestible as possible, because I don't want to sound like some professor talking over people's heads. But however, I also don't want to make it seem like this isn't a serious subject, because it is, all of this really goes down to mental health. And I want people to know that I take this serious as well. So I'm not going to, just half-ass the work. If I'm going to talk, I'm going to really try my hardest. And that's what I've been doing. So with all that being said, I'm going to make a separate video on the research that I've been gathering of solutions and ways to overcome this fear. Because honestly, I just felt like saying, just believe in yourselves and just go after it anyway. Those are real solutions. But what happens when that doesn't work? What happens when the words of encouragement just don't hit the same anymore, and life is really lifing, and shit's really hitting the fan. Sometimes but we don't even want to hear those words of encouragement because it pisses us off, to be honest. So when I talk about solutions, I was thinking to myself, I personally felt like I'd be an asshole to get in front of this camera and pretty much lie as if these solutions or these cliche sounding solutions are just so effective. And I'm not saying they can't be, but if I'm being real, they haven't really helped me out. So I want to do and talk about things that I feel has brought me further, and I want to be able to show other people that it's not easy. It's not, and I feel for you, and I understand it. I know that it's not easy sometimes, and I'm trying my hardest to find ways to really help people, and with that comes the research. So like I said, I'm gonna make a separate video focusing on those solutions and ways to try and overcome this fear. And I hope that you understand, whoever watches this, and I hope that you enjoy the content that I make, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so with that being said, from the most serious to the simplest of issues, young people specifically, deal with these types of problems daily. We never know how what they are experiencing actually affects them. However, it can affect us mentally, potentially moving us to hurt others and or ourselves, even going so far as to commit suicide. So this is me leaving my door open for us to have a chance to talk, and I hope others will do the same and join us. Remember to go and inspire somebody, beloved, as we close. One community, one world. Be peaceful.